How realistic is it for me to make a full-time income with a content business? That is a question I get asked so often in my personal life, but I actually just got asked the exact same question from a subscriber on YouTube just a couple weeks ago. So I thought, well, I make a full-time income running a content business and I've been doing it for 5 years, so I should probably prove that it is possible, right? So I have 5 points to prove why it is so realistic to go full-time with a content business. Before we do go into the 5 points, I do want to set a little bit of a baseline and to give some context on what full-time really is so that we can kind of have something to go off of and not just running with the wind. So based off some research that I did, the average full-time US worker earns about $4,500 per month before deductions, working 40-hour weeks. Now that's bad in a way because that's like quite a tragically low figure, but it's also good because if that's the barrier to what's considered full-time, this has just made our life a whole lot easier to go full-time. So now that we've set a bit of a baseline, $4,500 a month, we can get into point number one, which is just initially breaking down the math. So from a high level, if you're able to sell a $1,000 package 5 times per month, that's $5,000 a month. If you're able to sell a $500 package 10 times a month, that's $5,000 a month. If you're able to sell a $250 ticket to 20 people, that is also $5,000 per month. Now, I do appreciate that these numbers are kind of up in the air. They don't really mean much, but we do need something to actually look at to work from. And the reason I gave 3 different options is because there are so many niches in the content space that there are different market expectations for pricing. So maybe a $500 package for photos and videos for a real estate agent in your market is the market rate. Or maybe $1,000 is a wedding package for videography. Depending on what niche you pick and prefer, it's going to dictate how many of those packages you need to sell a month. But this is just why I've listed a few different price points, just to get your brain thinking of how many things you need to sell each month to make full-time money. Now that flows on really nicely to point number 2, which is scalability. Running a business is so much more scalable than just having a job with a fixed income and fixed hours. But I just wanted to focus on a quick couple of points that if we're just trying to go full-time with a content business, it is very scalable early on, because as your skills in the space get better and better, the better you get, the more money you can charge for the same thing. And the more efficient you get, the quicker you can get that done, which means that you can either get it done faster and have a higher hourly rate, or you could just do more work and make more money. Either way, you're winning. Now, point number 2 isn't necessarily directly related to proving the realism of going full-time with a business, but it is something that I think is worth sharing, and that is just the benefits. The benefits to running a service-based business, in this video's case, a content business, you can be brand new to business and pull it off with good odds. Unlike e-commerce or software businesses, a content business has low startup costs. They have super high margins, especially if you're by yourself, low monthly overheads, and month to month, the only thing it truly costs is your time. And on top of that, to go a little bit deeper, not full nerd spec, but a little bit geekier, is tax incentives as a business owner. I need to grab my iPad for this so I can actually get this shit right. So if you are on a full-time salary making $5,000 a month, you typically pay your taxes before your costs. But with business, you pay tax after expenses. So you end up saving a few $100s, even on a $5,000 a month income. So I'll break that down. Let's just say that you're on a monthly salary of $5,000, and let's just say that your tax bill is $1,000. You'd pay the tax right off the rip, leaving you with $4,000 to spend on stuff. Camera gear, lenses, rent, power, all that shit. Say that cost was like $3,000, and also say that it was all deductible, just for this example so we don't spend so much time going into it. So you profit about $1,000 in that scenario. So if we shift that mindset to you now a business owner generating $5,000 in sales a month, you would then have the same $3,000 of costs, leaving you with $2,000 left over, of which is taxed, which is about $600. So you would end up profiting $1,400, which is $400 more than what you would have worked for the same amount of money in a business. Now, of course, it's always a little bit more complicated than that, but that's just to give you a little bit of an idea as to the advantages of running a business. Sometimes you don't even need to make the same amount of money to profit the same amount. It works to my advantage, so I thought that was worth sharing. So point number 3 to proving how realistic it is to make a full-time income running a content business is just proof. Proof is everywhere. The world runs on consumable media. The digital media market itself apparently is looking to grow 12% year on year until 2030. So if that stat is legit, well, that's just going to be easier and easier for us because the market's just going to be bigger and bigger. Another point on proof is just look on YouTube. There are people on YouTube that talk about their content journey. Most of them genuinely are running, if they're talking about something specific in the content space, they probably actually do make money in that space. But if you don't want to believe any of them and you don't care about the market stats, if you trust me, use me as living proof that it is so possible to make a full-time living running a content business. I started with nothing. I knew no one in the industry, and within 1 month, after doing all my studying, learning and bundling all my skills together, I was able to go full time. I did talk about that video sometime, maybe a month or so ago. I'll try and list it somewhere up there, so if you want to go and see how I did it, you can go and watch that. It's not a very flattering video, but it could be useful. And to really write the whole proof thing home is that the content business or service-based businesses in general, that you don't need to be the top 1% to make a dollar, because you're not competing against the world. You're competing against typically your local area, your local city. You're not competing against someone in Dubai. You're competing with people in your area. Now, if we just take a quick breather to reconcile everything we've just said before we get into the fifth and final point, which is most likely the point you've been holding on for, we now know what the standard is for full time. It's $4,500 a month, 40 hours a week. We broke the numbers down. We know that it's 5 times $1,000 clients. It's 10 times $500 clients. Whatever that number is, we've got that number. We also know that the benefits to running a business are advantageous, especially in the service-based business. Low startup costs, high margin, low overheads, and super scalable. Not to mention all the tax benefits that go along with running a business. Now, after listening to this, you're probably thinking, it seems quite easy, but what's the hardest bit about this whole thing? Like, where is the catch to realistically be able to go full-time with a content business? There is a very high chance you've heard this saying before, but the first $1,000 is the hardest. 100%. The reason why that is because to even get $1,000 into your bank account as a result of your work from a camera or doing some editing, before you can even earn a single dollar, you've got to learn and bundle all of your skills together. You've got to learn how to use a camera. You've got to learn videography skills. You've got to learn composition. You've got to learn how to expose. You've got to learn how to edit. You've got to learn software. You've got to learn how to communicate with clients. You've got to learn how to do outreach. So before you can even charge a single dollar, you've got to put a lot of work in to get your skills up to a level of which the market will actually be happy to pay for your skill sets and not just use someone else. But let me tell you that if you do put the work in to develop your skill set to a level that the market is super stoked with, the moment you go out to the market and find business, it all comes together quickly and you just instantly hit the ground running. So to wrap up, is it realistic to go full-time with a content business? Yes. And what would I do today to get there if I didn't have a content business already? It is simply taking action and being consistent. I know that that sounds like hocus pocus, and there are a lot of other details within those two very broad statements, but if you really simplify it down, it is take action and be consistent at that action. Come to YouTube for motivation if you need to. Come to YouTube to learn new skills and new tools. Stay the course and you will win 100%. Once you can convince to yourself that it is genuinely possible to make money on your own dime, taking action and be consistent, there's no way you don't win. There just isn't. And I hope that this video has just increased your personal belief in yourself that it is very possible and you've just got to take some action. I'll see you soon.